Hi guys, welcome. Danny here from the Magic Junk Drawer. So I came back live because I thought about something that I wanted to talk about that I actually had been meaning to bring this up last week, but totally forgot. Hang on one sec. Sorry about that. I wanted to give Dylan some peanut butter. You know, he just doesn't like when I make videos most of the time. So when talking about the Mandela effect, I know a lot of people think that it's people misremembering different situations, and other people are thinking that we're changing realities. And I can't really tell you what I believe because I'm not really sure. Like, part of me feels like there is no way that we're all misremembering the same thing incorrectly and also misremembering the same thing incorrectly in the same way. But on the other hand, it's really hard for me to believe that we're slipping from one timeline into another, or slipping from one reality into another. I don't know, that seems nuts too. So I'm kind of don't really have an opinion. I mean, I'm fascinated by it, but I'm not really sure what it means. So it was interesting. Last week we had a death in the family, and my father came up here from Florida, and it was like an unplanned trip. He came here, you know, like I got the text message on Tuesday, I'm coming tomorrow at 6. Now, he hasn't been to my place in quite some time because he always stays at my brother's house when he comes in, because my brother has the room, I don't, and I have a full flight of stairs up, and he can't walk up those stairs because he's got like bum knees. So it was interesting that when I had come home one of the days that he was here to walk the dog, he was with me and he sat out on the bench while I went to get the dog, and I took him for a walk. And then when I came back, he had asked me if they redid the curbs. You know, he's like, did it always come out like where the curb goes? He's like, I remember it being straight. Did it always come out like a bulge like that? And I was like, oh yeah, it's always been like that. And he was like, oh, it must be a Mandela effect. Now, he knows about the Mandela effect. I don't know what he believes, but I mean, we've talked about it before. And then it was like 3 or 4 days later that I was thinking, I'm like, no, they redid the curbs. Like, we used to have a curb that was like a regular city-like curb made out of cement, right? And now they had put in like a stone curb, and I guess they did make it bulge out a little bit. But interesting that I live here and I had no idea what he was talking about, but he noticed it. And I've also noticed about myself, I don't notice little details on a lot of things. Like, one time they painted the yoga studio, and I'm the first person in the studio, and a student came in and was like, oh, they painted. And I was like, really? I didn't even notice. Like, it's got to be a major change, and I'm always pretty impressed with myself when I notice things like this. So I'm talking to one of my friends about family ties and that Mandela effect. There is no way that I remember the writing being bright green like that. Like, the logo was just not bright green. I remember it being red, and not even a bright red, but almost like you know, like a, not like a neon red, like a regular red. And he's like, yeah, definitely red, definitely red, definitely red. There's no way it was green. And then a few days later, I'm telling him, I'm like, yeah, the father on that show was so funny. And he goes, yeah, Alan Thicke, he was good. And I'm like, Alan Thicke? Michael Gross. And he's like, Alan Thicke wasn't in there? I'm like, you're not even in the right show. If you're not even in the right show, then how can I expect to rely on your memory as to what color the logo was? He's like, well, what am I thinking of? I'm like, you're thinking of Growing Pains. And that show is just nowhere near as funny as Family Ties. Anyhow, my brother remembers the logo being yellow. So now I don't even know what to say about it. All I can tell you is that that logo was never green. It was red. Or maybe it was yellow, but it wasn't green. And it definitely wasn't a lime green like that crazy neon green. I don't know. Comment below. Let me know what you think. what else was I going to say about the Mandela effect? It's very interesting to me how people remember different things about certain things, and then other people don't. Like, I don't know. Like, there are just certain things that, I mean, I just find it fascinating. But then again, I mean, there's the whole theory about like the collective consciousness, right? If we're all kind of pulling out of that collective consciousness, well, then maybe it's not so funny that some of us remember things the same way, even if it's incorrect, because that's what we're thinking and then that's what we're putting out there. Like, for example, what happened to me the other day? Oh, I was driving, right? And I was thinking about something like with my bills, right? And then I was like, I thought like, I'm like, oh, everything's fine. I'm on good target with money this month. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, I remembered that I have more taxes I have to pay April 15th that don't have anything to do with the government, like the federal government. It has to do with my property taxes. And I was like, oh God, now I have to go over my finances. But it's like that thought came out of nowhere. So where did that thought come from? Like, where did I pick that up? Like, it just popped into my head. Like, there's so much going on in our day-to-day lives, things that we're thinking about and things that we have to take care of and things that we let slip our minds, right? And then there are some people that don't get, you know, they don't stress out about these things. And then there are other people that are upside down. Oh, here was something that happened to me that was pretty interesting. Every once in a while, the mortgage companies, like, they buy and sell off different mortgages. I don't really know why, but it's happened to me over the years several times. And I was out for a run the other day, and I was thinking to myself, oh, I've been with this mortgage company for years now. I mean, I've been with them at least 5 years, maybe more, maybe even longer than that, because I know that when I was working at A&P, that A&P paycheck went into a special account, and that special account paid the mortgage on the 30th of every month. That's just how it was. So that was 3 years ago, over 3 years ago. Yeah, almost going on 4 years. So I've been with that same mortgage company for quite some time. And March 30th, my mortgage payment didn't come out, but March 30th happened to be a Saturday. So I was like, maybe it's not going to come out until Monday because Saturday's a weekend. And then Monday it didn't come out. And then I was like, okay, well, maybe it's not coming out because, like, I'm like, oh, well, maybe it comes out, like, it takes a day to post, so maybe it's going to come out on the 1st, and then it'll post on the 2nd, and on the 2nd, the payment had not come out. And now I was starting to freak out because I'm like, why isn't my mortgage payment coming out? So I called the mortgage company, and I come to find out that my mortgage had just been sold. And when they transferred me over to the company that now has it, and it seems like this company bought a lot from the same company because I keep hearing, like, the recording, you know, whatever, like, they connect you to it. They hadn't transferred over my account yet, so that's why the payment hadn't come out, and the guy told me to call back in a week. And I wasn't happy with, like, my mortgage being paid late, and he was like, well, you're not paying it late, it's because we're in the middle of transferring everything. He said I wouldn't be penalized for it. And I called yesterday because he told me to call back in a week, and I had them take a payment over the phone, like, at no charge. And the woman said, she's like, it's totally fine because this is what was going on. But it's interesting that I had just thought about it. Like, wow, I've been with this mortgage company for quite some time, and now they're changing, and then they changed it. Like, it was like, I can't tell you if it was on the 30th that I thought that. I don't remember what day it was, but it was sometime last week. So it's pretty interesting that I put that thought out there and that it happened, or that it was happening. And like, I have a hard time sometimes thinking law of attraction versus psychic ability. Like, was it my intuition telling me that that was going to happen, or was it that I thought that and it did happen? I'm thinking it had already happened because it doesn't, you know, it was taking them a couple of days anyway to get everything up and running. So I would think that it was more of like a me picking that up psychically rather than me putting it out there as a law of attraction thing, because why would I want to have that happen? You know, it's kind of like annoying. Now I have to set up my payments again. The one good thing is that this bank will allow me to make biweekly payments, whereas the last company, they didn't allow that. You could physically write out a check every 2 weeks, but if you wanted to have it automatically debited out of your account, you had to you had to only do it once a month, and you picked the date, but it was either between the 15th and the 30th or something. I don't know. Anyway, so now hopefully I'll be able to do biweekly, which I think will help me pay off my mortgage quicker. But I also think that I feel like, I don't know, it'll be a little bit less stressful. I don't know. It's probably six of one, half a dozen of another, whatever that saying is. Anyhow, so watching old videos the other day, and it really was making me feel like totally nostalgic for like being a really little kid, and like what an innocent time that is. I don't know. I think other people feel this way because just of what I was reading in the comments. I think the guy's channel was Fred Flicks, if you're interested in old TV commercials like from the 80s. I think he has them even before then, the 70s. I think he even has some from the 50s and the 60s. But just feeling like, and the Mandela effect has made me feel like this before too, like wanting to be little again. I don't know. It's like a kind of like, I don't know if I could describe it. I said to one of my friends the other day, it made me feel old. But I don't think that feeling old, I don't think that that's the right description. I think that the way it makes me feel like missing the past, and like when I was little and like my grandparents were around and that kind of stuff. And like now things are just different because I don't have that much family. I hardly have any family. And it's just different now. Like back then, like I don't know, it's just something about those commercials, and seeing those commercials remind me of that time, like being really little, like being like 7, 8. Like I don't know, just I guess that's why those videos get so many views, because people like to see that and remember the way that things used to be, and brings them back to their childhood and early adult life. Because a lot of the people too were much older than me, and they were like teenagers or graduating high school in like the 80s or in the 70s or whatever the time frame was. But this stuff, like, it kind of brings back like really, really like first memories, like of like me living in my first house and the things that I would do. Like I was the only child at that point because I was the oldest, and I remember I was never a bad kid, but I used to get up in the morning earlier than my mother, and I would go into the bathroom, and it's like I could remember it like it was yesterday. And I would play with her makeup, and every morning she would get up and yell at me, and I always did it, and I always tried to be really slick about it, but I mean, I used to get caught, or I used to put on her shoes, and I remember like going into the closet, oh my God, sorry, and like putting on her boots and her high heels. I don't know, just like, I guess watching those old commercials brings me back to that time, because probably that's like the age that I was. And thinking, like, if I ever went back to the first house that I lived in, can you imagine walking around that house or walking around the property, the memories that it would bring back for me? Like, I can remember the way that that house looks. I could remember the way that it looked like on the inside. I mean, am I remembering it correctly? I don't know. I think so. Although there was a little discrepancy about the staircase. I remembered the staircase being a full flight up, like a full flight. And my father said that it was like 3 steps and a landing, and then 3 more steps and a landing, 3 more steps. Like that's the way that it went. But I remembered it being a full flight. So that's a little bit different. I'm sure that the house looks much different now from the inside than when we moved out. But it's just very interesting, like the way the memory works and how we remember things and things that we forget. Like, I don't know. So when it comes to the Mandela effect, are we all misremembering things and misremembering them? Like we all thought that the Gordon's fisherman was the Gordon's fisherman and not Gordon. I mean, if I had to bet on it, I would have bet Gordon with a D. If I had to bet on, you know, the Berenstain Bears is probably one that I would have won because I remember being on my neighbor's porch. I mean, I was 5 years old, I remember. And I remember saying, oh, she always liked the Berenstain Bears. But I remember saying, oh, the Berenstain Bears. And she was like, no, it's Bernstein. But it's not Bernstein, it's Berenstain. So even that was a discrepancy. But that happened so long ago. So it's, you know, very interesting to me how I had a friend that I really thought I was going to catch him, and I had given him like a number of questions, and he answered every one with the correct memory that it should be. And he's like a super crazy Star Wars fanatic, and he knew that the line in that movie was, no, I am your father, not Luke, I am your father. And if anybody was going to know that, it would be him. So how is it that after all these years, people have constantly made that mistake? His theory is that after that movie came out, there were so many comedy spoofs off of it. Somebody made it the change to Luke, and then that's just what we remember because there were so many spoofs. And maybe that's just it. Maybe that's exactly it. It's kind of funny to me, though, to see clips of James Earl Jones, who it was his line, and him remembering it incorrectly. Like, that to me is kind of funny. But maybe my friend is right. And maybe it is all about, you know, that the movie, you know, maybe you saw the movie once, or maybe you saw the movie twice, or even if you saw it 3 or 4 times, if you saw 12 or 15 spoofs over the years where they said it incorrectly, it would make sense as to why you remember it that way. So I don't know. I'm fascinated by the Mandela effect. If you have a chance, Recall Vector's got a great channel. Moneybag73 has great channels, and his channels are voting channels. So you thumbs up the video if you remember it the way he says. You thumbs down the video if you don't remember it the way he says. But this way you can see by the amount of likes and dislikes how many people remember it incorrectly. And it's fascinating because most people remember it incorrectly, whatever it is. And he's got, I think he's into the 300s now. So if you get a chance, check out Moneybag73, Recall Vector. There are some other ones, too, that I've watched. I can't remember any of their names, but I'm subscribed to all of them. I don't usually watch the ones that go too long or that's too much talking. I'm like a visual person. I like that Moneybags always does little clips, and so does Recall Vector. He puts in all kinds of reality residue, or so it, you know, like that he's found of things being spelt incorrectly. And like I said, I'm very fascinated by this, but I'm not entirely sure yet what I make of it. All right, let me know what you think. And let me know if you've experienced any Mandela effects or anything I could look into. Because once I hear about one, I just totally go crazy looking for like residue because I find it fascinating. And if you like what we're doing here at the Magic Junk Drawer, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, comment below, share us with your friends, and we'll see you soon. Bye. I thought I ended the video, but I guess not. Try it again. Oh my goodness.